What's up, metalheads? Today, I'm spinning the wax with Kyle Walburn and Brendan Iacovella of Atlanta's progressive slash technical black metal band Tómarúm, and we are listening to Eld by Enslaved. Don't go anywhere. It all starts right now. Hello, my heavy metal friends, and welcome back to Spinning the Wax, where we listen to your favorite artists' favorite records. My name is John Garcia, known affectionately around the internet as Stay Puft, the metal marshmallow, and your friendly neighborhood headbanger. On today's episode, I'm joined by Kyle Walburn and Brendan Iacovella, two members of Atlanta progressive slash technical black metal band Tómarúm. Kyle founded the band back in 2017, and after multiple strenuous years of creating the bulk of the music, he eventually brought Brandon in to help flesh out all of the music and get everything across the finish line. The result was their wonderful 2022 debut, Ash in the Realm of Stone Icons, just one of the many musical projects that these two have together. And if you've been around my internet streams for a little while, you know that I did not shut the fuck up about that record when it came out, and it still gets regular spins on my record player. It's fantastic. These kindred spirits first connected over a shared love of Norwegian black slash progressive metal band Enslaved. And so it's no surprise that they bring on their 1997 album, Eld, onto Spinning the Wax. Kyle, Brandon, and I talk about the parallels between themselves as a band and Enslaved members Ivar Bjornsson and Grutel Kjellson, I hope I pronounced those correctly, how Tómarúm has been directly influenced by the way Enslaved has morphed, evolved, and changed through the years, and their dream of being able to open and tour with Enslaved. There's also a Bal-Sagoth mention, as well as some hints and updates about Tómarúm's third album, even though we literally just released the second one, as well as talk about a new Lunar Chamber album and some more projects that Kyle and Brandon are working on. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy Enslaved or Tómarúm, definitely click like on it. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you feel so gracious, head over to patreon.com/spinningthewax, where you can support the show directly, as well as get early access to these episodes, access to all of my playlists, new music updates every week, exclusive material, and so much more. Here you go, ladies, gentlemen, and those of you in between. This is episode 17 of Spinning the Wax, where Tómarúm listens to Enslaved's Eld. Please welcome Kyle and Brandon from Atlanta's Tómarúm. Guys, nice to see you again. How y'all doing?
Good. Good to see you too.
Doing well, man. Nice to see you.
Likewise, I'm excited to get into y'all's pick that we're going to listen to today. But first, I want to dig in a little bit because the last time we talked was when Ash in the Realms of Stone Icons came out, right? And at that time, you were mostly just a two-piece. I remember when we talked, you were starting to get some members of the band together and everything like that. But I think you guys have lived a couple of different lives since then, with going on tour and now, getting ready to put out another album and the writing process that goes in with that. So catch me up a little bit, guys. How's it been? How is the touring? And what has your journey been like since releasing Tómarúm's debut, what seems like a million years ago? Kyle, we can start with you, man.
It's been really crazy. It feels like a lot has happened in like a really short amount of time.
Yeah.
Which is crazy considering that it feels like we're at the very beginning of our journey with the band still, but ever since Ash came out, it's just kind of felt like a whirlwind of tour, cool tour after cool tour, and people that we really look up to, speaking really positively about the record. So it's just been really humbling and really heartwarming. It's been stressful and a lot of hard work, doing all the touring and recording the new record last year, or not last year, it's 2025 now, but towards the end of 2023, when we were about to go on tour with Inferi, we had gotten back from our summer tour and immediately started recording our new record that's about to come out. And then like not long after that, we had to just pause on that to go on tour. And then as soon as we got back from tour, we finished up recording.
Damn.
So it's just been kind of like a lot of work, and it's been kind of stressful, but it's been super, super rewarding.
I love that. Brendan, what about you, man? I've got some things to jump in on there, but I want to hear your experiences, friend.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Went out on a couple of tours, a couple of shorter tours when the album came out. We did East Coast and West Coast, which was really awesome. I made a lot of, great friends and had some good experiences. And then pretty much like Kyle said, in 2023, we did, the most touring we'd ever done. So like 7 weeks throughout the whole year, which I know for some bands is like not that much, but for us, it was a lot. We did 3 weeks and then album stuff and then another tour and then album stuff. So that was a bit of a scramble. And then, yeah, finishing up the album last year and going on another tour, debuting some new material. It's been really awesome. So, yeah, the first cycle was really fun. We got to play with some of our idols and have just great times touring the US and Canada. So really excited for this next one.
Yeah, I am too, and hopefully you've gotten after the crazy stop and start and recording and touring and recording and everything like that at the end of the year. You've gotten some like a little bit of respite before all the whirlwind starts up again. I do have to apologize though. When you guys came through Nashville this past November, I don't know what happened. I guess it was blame it on like the tryptophan or like the post-Thanksgiving fog or something like that. But it missed my radar to the point that like I saw maybe just like less than a week later, I saw Panopticon at a small venue, and I was like, man, there are a bunch of Tómarúm shirts. Fuck yeah, this is really cool.
Oh, wow.
People got good taste, and I was like, wait, why are there's like 4 of them? And then I looked, I was like, oh my God, I missed it. So I do have to apologize for that, but I hope that you guys had an amazing time on that. And something that you mentioned, Kyle, as far as like kind of, it feels like you're still at the beginning of this journey. I feel like maybe you guys kind of are with the fact that, you did almost 100% of the writing for the previous album, and now there's a band with you that you've had to create and everything like that and navigate. So how has kind of that structure been with you, finding a band to tour with and to create with and write with and everything like that that has ultimately led us to Obsidian that's going to come out?
It's honestly been really easy. Like we brought Chris and Matt and Michael on, and it's just been awesome. We've all get along super, super well. They're some of my best friends in the whole world. We have a blast touring together. And
that's
then,
good. That's important.
The like little spats and everything that every band gets into when they're on the road. Like every time that we've had some kind of disagreement or like small like conflict or anything, it's like very easily talked through and worked through. So it's been really, really great. And everybody else in the band is just like mega talented. Like the writing is a lot more, it's like fully collaborative now. So
cool.
The new album that's about to come out is a lot more, I feel like it's a lot more dynamic and a lot more like different influences coming in. So It's been really cool to see the band grow from like when I started the band and it was gonna originally be a solo project, and then Brandon came into the fold. Like coming from that to like a full band that's done like semi-extensive touring, it's been like really cool to see, and I'm excited to see where this album in the future takes us.
Yeah, and obviously, we're going to be talking about Enslaved and stuff like that, so not going to be talking a whole lot about the album and everything like that, but just to touch on a little bit, I mean, it's cool to see it expand a little bit more and be this other part of this story that you all started on Ash and everything like that. And it does feel like, I don't know if it'll feel like this for y'all or for anybody else who's like taking it in, but it almost kind of feels like almost a second debut in the sense that like, yeah, what you had for the previous album is still all there, but this one starts to, like you said, expand on that a little bit more, and you can tell that there's like different voices kind of talking within this band and everything like that. And fucking Chris's drumming on this album, oh my God, dude, like I don't know what the fuck that dude is on, how many limbs this dude has. He's an alien, dude.
He's an octopus. But but yeah, I honestly, it does kind of feel like us, even though this is only the second album, it honestly kind of feels like a new beginning, both like thematically and musically.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like where Ash thematically was like, feels like now that it was kind of setting up the story.
Yeah.
Like it was me dwelling on a lot of like my past trauma and like mental health problems and stuff like that, where this album is kind of me starting the journey of tackling those and trying to like move forward and like the trials and tribulations along that path.
Definitely. And that comes across too from, I think from the very first song, I was like, oh, it sounds like, you know, a similar voice to the previous album, but yet there's a lot more like uplifting parts and a lot more like identity parts. And like, I know who I'm going to be and I'm not going to let this stuff get me down anymore, which is great to hear, especially given like how much turmoil went into writing the previous album. And then kind of like you said, seeing so many people respond to that album so well. I mean, obviously, you know, it got picked up by a prosthetic before it even came out. So seeing that reception has been really fucking cool. And I'm really excited for people to sink their teeth into this album as well.
Thank you. I'm really excited too. I feel like we have a lot of tricks up our sleeve on this one that weren't on the last one. So I'm excited to see what how people react to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, just given the, like, you know, quote unquote progressive nature of the band, or just kind of thinking outside of the box anyway, I'm sure that a lot of people would expect something, you know, new, although they'll not be like, I don't think that they'll be like, oh, I expected this exact thing at this exact moment or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's exciting to hear that and then whatever else is going to come beyond, because in an amazing segue, a band that we're about to talk about today has also kind of shifted and morphed and expanded with new members coming and going, and also the same two people that have basically been there since the very beginning. So Brendan, I'm going to start with you, man. I know this is like a collaborative thing and everything like that, but Enslaved is a band that I think many people are going to be like, man, I can rank all of their albums and I love them and I know everything about them and all that stuff, as well as a band that many people listening to this are like, I don't even know where the fuck to start. Probably they're Norwegian, but I know that they're black metal, but they're also like Viking metal and folk metal and prog metal and like all of this other stuff. So before we even get into the album, Brandon, for people who aren't familiar with Enslaved, describe this band to them and why you're such a fan of the Norwegians.
Right. Yeah. Kind of a loaded question, but I'll try and be I'll try and be concise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, legendary Norwegian band that started in the early '90s, alongside so many of our other favorites. But I feel like what kind of led them apart in a way was when they started. Well, I mean, even from the beginning, they were kind of experimenting with a lot more like, not necessarily instrumentation, but like the way that the instrumentation was written, the way that the keyboards and the synths were done was a bit different. So even from the outset, they were just like really unique and young. And so that's obviously like, you know, it goes alongside the counterparts in like, you know, Emperor, for example, or, you know, Arcanum, just like bands that have these visions that are just so huge, and then they just go for it at such a young age. So they had, you know, they're like their counterparts in that way. But then as they go along, you notice throughout their discography that they kind of just blossom. And by the early 2000s, they're just full blown progressive black metal. And then they just keep going with that. And they keep becoming a super, super dynamic, real, and then even more in the 2010s, like really genre bending, like metal band. Your original question was for me to describe Enslaved to the layperson, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I mean that you also like introduced them and kind of like set the table and everything like that. But certainly, I mean, it is a loaded question because they're one of those bands that it's like, you know, they have like their different eras, or if you poke on one album, it's not going to be the same as even albums the next one or the two ones down from that or anything like that. But you know, if you were to try and boil this band down into someone's like, I've heard about this Enslaved band, like what should I expect when I pop onto them? Like what would you try and brace them for, man?
Yeah, I guess it's like everything you described before. It's like it has the Viking influence, prog. There's like rock elements. There's even some like in the earlier stuff. There's like that punkish, like black metal kind of stuff too.
Yeah, like the D-beat stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's just, yeah. I would honestly have someone start with probably this album or
Cool.
like maybe Bloodhammon or something. I mean, you could start with any of them and then work your way around the eras. But
Sure,
yeah,
which is what
like
I did with the band. Yeah.
and yeah, me too. I mean, my first album that I heard from them was In Times, so I got started in their modern era, and then went back. But yeah, I mean, just virtuosos who are super ambitious in their approach, and it's super like apparent on this one, especially with just what they were going for after their first two. So yeah.
That's a great answer, and yeah, and this album certainly does like hasn't aged at all. Like it is, it sounds just as exciting in 2025 as it did when it came out. But Kyle, let me go to you, man. Like, so what? Obviously, we talked about like their different eras and stuff like that. I mean, nowadays, I feel like this band is almost like a psychedelic band. Like the most recent album, like Heimdall, was just like a fucking huge like psilocybin trip, like or like audio wise. What turned you on about this band, and like how did you discover this band, Kyle?
So I discovered Enslaved back probably when I was like 14, 15, when I first started like going down the rabbit hole with black metal. So if I'm recalling correctly, I started with the early material. So like Viking Ligerveldi and Frost and this album Eld. And then I just kind of worked my way through their discography. Saw them live probably in like 2015-ish when they were touring with Between the Buried and Me. It was like, I think it was the only US tour they did for In Time.
Wow, and that's a weird build too.
Yeah, it was a really weird bill because it was like Between the Buried and Me, Enslaved, Intronaut, and Native Construct. So it was like really eclectic, really diverse.
Yeah,
but that was like
cool, though.
That was one of those like early formative shows that I went to that just kind of like blew me away. And I've just been really, really, really heavy on Enslaved ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. We all have different like avenues for this. So for me personally, I wouldn't call Enslaved a band that I know like everything about or that I've like spent a shit ton of time with, but I have spent a fair amount of time with them. Like I've listened to many albums several times, a couple albums only once. But my first album was Vertebrae, which I think was their first one on Nuclear Blast, which is why it was so out there. Yeah, very, very good. And
that's still one that I haven't touched yet.
Really?
I was just talking to Kyle about it yesterday. That's one of the like 3 or 4 I haven't done yet. But
yeah. And it's amazing too that I'm sure that with this album and with many others, y'all could just like talk my ears off about this band, but yet there's still albums that you haven't listened to because it is that wide and that kind of intimidating to get into. But I love their like 2000 stuff, like the one before Vertebrae, Isa. I think that might be one of my favorites of them. It's just so fucking good, man.
Isa. I've cried to that album.
I could see why.
I love that's when they had Herbrand Larson join the band on keyboards, and he's like my number one vocal inspiration.
Oh wow!
Like I would say, if not number one, then definitely top 3. Like, but has been number one many times throughout, being inspired by clean vocalists.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that's where I feel like the band really started to change in a way, and I'm sure that had to deal with the keyboardist coming in and working with everything. But as I was kind of like picking around, and I'm going to check an early album, or I'm going to listen to Utgard, I'm going to listen to this and everything like that. I don't know which ones I haven't listened to yet, but you can definitely tell in those 2000s when they really got inspired and started just going out of this like. I don't even know how to describe it. It was really, really, really fucking cool.
Yeah, 1000%.
So that brings us to Eld. Why is this album one of the ones that y'all clinked your heads together and said, we're going to listen to this one? And whoever wants to start first can do so. I'm sure I'll hear for both of you.
Yeah, I guess I can, if you don't mind, I'll go first, Brandon.
Yeah, go for it.
But I was, when me and Brandon started talking about this and like what we wanted to do, I was kind of listening off all these like super obscure like Eastern Europe, like Lithuanian albums that me and him like, but it was definitely like more so things that I jam a ton. And then I was just kind of randomly like, what if we do Eld? Because we had just like, we've talked about Enslaved so many times. They're probably the band that me and Brandon look up to the most as far as like what we're doing with Tómarúm. They're like the ones that inspire us the most with like the current state of the band.
That makes sense, actually, and I could hear that throughout this album.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
I'm glad
awesome,
to hear
man.
that.
Yeah, no, for us that's huge. That's
Fuck yeah,
big
yeah.
inspiration.
So yeah, Eld is my favorite Enslaved album, and it's probably the one that I've talked to Brandon the most about.
Cool.
So I was just kind of like, I hit him up probably like a couple hours after we had our initial conversation. I was just like, bro, what if we just do Eld? And he was just like, yeah, let's do it.
Fuck yeah. And that's great because I hadn't, previous to this, if I can, I try and listen to it beforehand, but I hadn't listened to this album previous to you talking about it. So it's been really fun to go through it because, I don't know, it just kicks ass. Brandon, what about you, man? Like, why does this album stick in your mind when you think about Enslaved?
Yeah, so like Kyle had said, I would have been down to do some of those like weird Eastern European bands too. Like we love that stuff, all the
Of
super
course.
weird folk stuff. But in terms of what we talk about the most, at least recently, like you mentioned, because I didn't even think about when you said like, oh, our duo nature at the beginning is kind of like Grutle and Ivar. I had never thought about that before, so that's kind of an interesting
yeah.
parallel.
Yeah.
So like that's something that I guess Kyle and I kind of share is like that kind of like dynamic. And in terms of bands that we had really bonded over, this was one that we have just bonded over, like he said, a lot, and has been a huge inspiration for kind of where we like want to take the band in terms of just an evolutionary standpoint. I mean, when you look at how Enslaved has evolved, it's like, you know, we're going for something similar in terms of just how ambitious and mature their stuff sounds as they go along. And so, yeah, when we were talking about it, we went over, I guess, Kyle mentioned Eld, and I kind of immediately agreed because it was an album that we had talked about a couple of times before. I think we'd even like listened to it on a flight. We were just like jamming Enslaved albums on a flight.
Hell yeah.
At one point that we were taking too. So like we had talked about the album before. I think on some car rides we had talked about a couple of songs from the album, especially the first one. I mean, that's one of our favorite black metal songs mutually of all time. So it was kind of an easy pick. He suggested it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's kind of a midpoint in their kind of like first half, I guess you could say, of their career, or like maybe a midpoint in their first era. And so it's kind of it has that all around kind of sound. It has some of the early prog stuff too. So I think it was a good pick.
I agree on that one because if you have someone who's like, oh, I like, you know, first wave or second wave of black metal, but I'm not ready to go into all that crazy weird sounding stuff or something. Like this still has the crazy weird sounding stuff, but it's not like, you know, as crazy as it is later in their career. And then of course you have the 16-minute long like dungeon synth intro song that is so fucking good, and I'm ready to get into it if y'all are ready to get into it. Is there anything else you want to mention about the album or anything like that, or are you just ready to let it fly?
One thing I will say, this was part of the notes. I'm just gonna be a total geek here.
Dude, I've got notes too. Don't worry about it. We can geek out together. This is why I do it. I've got all my cheat sheets. I've got the Wikipedia articles. I've got the lyrics up. I've got all of it. So I'll sound like a genius, but really, I am a moron.
I think I think before we get started, Kyle, do you have your vinyl on hand?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have it too.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So
look at Macaulay Culkin in all of his glory sitting there on that throne.
So no, I wanted to show those off. My girlfriend got me the shirt for Christmas also, so I just went full Enslaved mode.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, it was meant to be.
Oh, you're wearing an Enslaved shirt too, right?
Oh yeah. We talked about this yesterday.
Well, I didn't get the memo. I'm wearing a Chelsea Wolf t-shirt, but like whatever. I know that she likes Enslaved.
Hey,
so
I love her.
fine.
I love her too.
Yeah, exactly.
And then one other thing too is eld means fire in Norwegian. So that's kind of one of the other geek things I wanted to mention. I think that's really cool. It's a fiery sounding album.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only album with Harold Helgeson on drums. So they had a trio on this one.
And I think we should also mention too that the producer Peyton, I don't know how you say it, but the producer on this album has worked with every single fucking black metal band that you, dear listener, have ever fucking heard of.
Oh, interesting. I haven't actually checked the producer credits.
Yeah, so I'm not like I check. I'm not huge into like, oh, who recorded and mixed and mastered and this and all that other stuff. But I always think it's interesting sometimes the names that circle around. And this dude has done Mayhem, Burzum, Immortal, Emperor, Satyricon, Enslaved, Gorgoroth, Borknagar, Take, and that's just a few of them. So literally all of the important bands. And I think it's interesting too to the time period around that. But yeah, just like kind of you're talking about the dudes being young and just ambitious and everything like that. And certainly he helped kind of foster that sound in Norway to get that out onto the vinyl player,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that we're ready to do this. This is Eld by Enslaved. 3, 2, 1, play. I know this is what the influence was for stuff like this, but this reminds me very much of a what was it? It was the black metal band from one of the dudes from Wayfarer, Stormkeep.
Oh yeah, Stormkeep.
Yeah, Stormkeep. That's what it was. Thank you. I was like, I can remember like the lavender album art and everything like that. I have the vinyl downstairs, but the like synthy type of stuff that they have, where it's like a 3-minute song that has no black metal riffing into it, and then it goes into all of that. I could see that this is the type of stuff that was being pulled from influence wise on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Kyle and I absolutely adore Stormkeep, so that's another band that we've talked about many times. Definitely the influences there.
Are y'all like nerd D&D gamer type people as well?
Yeah, I would say so.
I am too. I'm just like, there's no judgment in that. I'm just asking. So I didn't mean to come out so like pointed like, are you guys fucking nerd? No, because I am too.
Me and Brandon are like all the time nerding out about like black metal and RPGs and like fantasy novels and shit.
Oh hell yeah!
Like constantly.
We've been on a really big like book, like fantasy book, like just nerd out recently. I'm reading Brandon Sanderson, and he's Kyle's reading Robert Jordan. So
okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely nerds.
Yeah, very much so. I have many Brandon Sanderson books on my Kindle like list to get to, and then I found the first Wheel of Time book at a thrift store for pretty cheap. And one of these days, Kyle, I will crack into it, but I know it's like, this is going to be like a little bit of a commitment here, and I'm just starting to get back into reading after getting medicated for ADHD. Like, I can actually read books now again, guys. It's great.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
All right, we're getting closer to the riffs.
It's go time, boys.
Yeah. What's interesting is this isn't the first time that Enslaved has started an album with a ridiculously long song. We're 3.5 minutes in, and this is where everything starts.
Yeah, and the tone of the guitars here, man.
It's one of my favorite acoustic tones ever.
Oh yeah.
And the way they layer the distorted and the acoustic guitars too. That's honestly one of the reasons we started doing that.
Interesting. Yeah, I think all bands should do that. It just sounds so good. Nevermore did that a whole fucking ton. It's like almost like, when you layer something with a 12 string, it just opens up everything so much more. It's great.
Clean vocals here are fucking phenomenal. The note I had for this part is that it sounds like he's like singing from a mountain. Like it sounds like he's on top of a mountain singing.
Yeah, especially the way with the reverb on it and everything like that,
Yeah, it's got this like it's like otherworldly vibe to it for me, which I really love.
And it's basically recounting a heroic battle on Midgard when the kings of the north in Norway shattered Christian skulls. And then, they're beaten and weary, but the Norsemen will rise again. It's basically the summary of this entire song.
Yeah, it's so fucking sick.
Yeah, dude, it's metal as fuck.
So one of the things I've loved about Enslaved is it's like musically and thematically, they've always been on point, like every single album.
And then they just start morphing and evolving with these riffs now. Now it's going to really start, like, the grooves are going to change and some of the froggy kind of rhythms start coming in.
Those, like, stops in this riff are so good.
It's almost like Opeth-y. Like, there's a lot of parallels that, I mean, Kyle and I love Opeth, too. Opeth was a huge influence on the new album, too.
Of course.
And this Scandinavian prog metal sound is just so iconic.
It's like the way that they're doing almost like dissonant bar chords almost, you know, that I think that's what it really is. Cause I remember, I'm just a hobbyist with the guitar and stuff like that. And when I was like 17, 18, trying to figure out how to play like the Leper Affinity or something like that, I was like, this is impossible to play. Like no human being alive on earth can fucking play this, but they do somehow. And it's just that all of those strings being strummed in the way that they are, I think is what gives it that, kind of misty, otherworldly feel.
Yeah, for sure.
I hear the Opeth in here a lot as well.
Enslaved and like early Opeth are two things that me and Brandon have like really, really bonded over. Just on the last tour we were on, it was just like My Arms Your Hearse constantly.
That is my favorite Opeth album.
Oh, same.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like I think, you could quibble, like, in my opinion, Blackwater Park might be their best album, but My Arms Your Hearse is my favorite album, if that makes sense, And
for sure.
That was the one that also got me into that band. Like, that was the first record I ever heard from them, and it just still has a place on my shelf,
What an awesome record to be introduced to Opeth by.
Dude, and that's why I'm saying, like, nothing has topped it since then, which is great because they have an amazing discography. I went through last year and listened to all their albums again when Last Will and Testament was coming out, and yeah, dude, it's just like, you can quibble about some of the things here and there and whether you like the, proggy ones like Sorceress and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, man, I think that you're going to have a good time no matter what Opeth album that you put on just because they're so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I like how we're halfway through the song and they've done like 2 riffs. It's so awesome.
Well, actually, you reminded me, I was going to say that. Like, I mean, this album is 58 minutes, but it flies by faster than some like, heavy metal, 45-minute heavy metal albums that I've listened to before and shit like that, Yeah,
it's because the songwriting's so fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just get lost in the atmosphere, and then even on the later songs when they just, go nuts, it's just, here we go.
God, this riff's the best.
My notes, I say they just go extreme metal all over the place here.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they, like, the parts on this album where they do, like, the traditional black metal, they just go so fucking hard, and the drums are, like, feral. I love it so much.
Dude, we'll get to it, but the end of fucking Glempt is just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is also one of my favorite drum tones from, like, early black metal. That snare is so good.
The production does sound really good. I know like a lot of black metal will get shit on for like sounding like it comes from a tin can and everything like that. But obviously this was a little bit removed from like the first, beginning sprouts of the genre and everything like that.
Yeah. So. It's like, it sounds really clean and like you can hear everything, but it's also still got that grit and that like slightly unpolished feel to it. That's my favorite kind of black metal production. And Brandon can tell you, I listen to so much fucking black metal, like from the tin can stuff that sounds like static to like the super well produced stuff. But like that sweet spot in between the two is the best for me.
The upcoming part is one of Kyle and I's favorite melodies from this album. This part coming up.
Yeah. Like, I aspire to be that good at writing melodies.
It has that kind of like, it has that folky vibe, but it's not like circus sounding. It's like, it's that perfect like folk black metal vibe.
Yes, it's like you're like galloping on a horse. Not even galloping, but just kind of like trotting on a horse. So yeah.
It's got this like kind of melancholic feel to it too. So it's like you're on the horse, but you're like sad.
Yeah, what it reminds me of is in the the travel scenes in Lord of the Rings where they've got the helicopter shots going over while they're running. That's kind of like more so what it reminds me of, and the fact that I think that was the first bit of like real guitar melody in this song too, so it stands out even more on that, which is also just good songwriting.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way. They kind of like just ride that wave for like 10 minutes and then introduce you to like a melody that is kind of like a payoff in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's just masterful. It's stuff that Ivar was thinking about this when he was, in 97, I think he was like 20 years old. So like, it's like, dude, like
he was 13, right? When they started, like they were teenagers or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then from here, this melody too.
The clean guitars come in too.
Yeah, the clean guitar is so simple but so gorgeous. And then
Yeah.
the vocal melody I was talking about towards the beginning of the show is coming up. Just so moving. I've gotten full body chills to this before.
I still remember me showing you this album for the first time when we were on the way to a show a while back, and you were just like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah, because I think I had like skimmed through it before, but Kyle was like, "Dude, go back. We got to do it." So we did it.
That's happened with Enslaved albums for me before, where it's just like you kind of have to give them a couple of listens to really sink in because, you know, they're not all of them are super dense, but there's just so much music in them a lot of times that it will take a second for them to go through. Because what's the album that I was just like, no, I don't even like that. I don't want to listen to it. Oh, it was Below the Lights. When I listened to that one for the first time, I was like, no, I don't like it. I don't know why people say, like, Havenless is cool, but, like, the rest of it, I don't know. But after I listened to it again, I was like, oh, it's starting to make sense a little bit more.
Yeah, the clean vocal melody that just happened, fucking iconic. Absolutely amazing. But to your point, Below the Lights was one of those where I went to it recently and listened to it, and, like, I think it's Queen of the Night just starts with, like...
Yes.
Like I think it's the acoustic guitar, and like that album, you can argue that Issa is really like where they like came into the new sound, but like they did it there too. I mean, phenomenal album.
My dream for Tómarúm would be to open for Enslaved on an Eld anniversary tour. That's like my dream.
You know, if you guys could shit out an album in 2 more years, you might be able to do it. 2027 is coming up.
Hey, we've got a lot of progress on the third one already, so you never know.
Love to hear that.
Little insider info. Third one is coming along nicely, so
that is such a satisfying ending. You know, they really chew on the scenery for a second before doing that big can ending. Oh my god.
It was almost like a heavy metal kind of like outro.
Very much, you know, I got Maiden from that, you know, like Maiden or Motorhead or something like that. Like they would do that shit all the time. Like the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, hallowed be thy name. All right, and now the album starts at track 1.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention here that I had in the notes was I wrote like that the riffs here are like really angular sounding. So they're kind of like jagged sounding, and that's really, really common in like from here on out in their discography. Like especially on the more modern albums, they have these really strange, like jarring rhythms and like dissonant riffs. And this is one of them. And I just think it's like really creative.
And this is an interesting song too because it switches back and forth from this type of stuff to some more like atmospheric things and stuff like that. So
the clean vocal chorus in this song is one of my absolute favorite moments on the whole album.
I understand why. Yeah, in fact, I think I said that this might be one of my favorite tracks on this whole entire album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the first 2 songs from this album might be like the best 2 songs of like their discography. I mean, I'm biased towards In Times also, and like I can't remember if Issa starts with my 2 favorites, but yeah, so good.
For those playing the home game, Horda la Dingen. I'm sorry. I've been to Oslo a couple of times. I am terrible at Norwegian. They make fun of me. But this is the man from Hordaland is what this song stands for.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
Got that bass tone too.
Disgusting.
Oh man.
Like to me, this part, it's like you're in the woods, but it's like really, really like it's like arcane, like super mystical, like woodland type thing.
Oh
yeah,
love the laugh. I know a lot of people don't like the laughs in black metal. I love
it
when bands do the laughs.
I think if a newer band did it, I would probably think it's super lame, but the way the laughs come across in old black metal, it's so good.
Yeah.
Shit, Kyle, we might do one on Druidian. We might.
Oh, let's do it, dude.
We might. I had an idea, John. We have another project called Druidian Secrets that we're working on. It's kind of like 90s like Celtic pagan black metal with like some heavy metal kind of stuff in there too.
That sounds awesome. How did you all meet, by the way? I don't think we talked about this the last time that we spoke or not. I'm very, very curious to see how this like musical relationship formed because I know it's been a while now.
Yeah. So it was, I think 2018. It was the very first band that I played in. Um, the main dude in that band was was friends with Brandon as well.
Mm.
And Brandon came to one of the very first shows. So we met there and then we just kind of like instantly clicked.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
I think a couple weeks later we like hung out for the first time and like immediately started writing music, and it's just kind of like kept going ever since.
Yeah, so just like musical kindred spirits almost.
Literally, yeah. And actually, the music he's talking about, we revived for Druidian Secrets. So it's
fuck yeah, dude.
almost, I think, 5 out of the 6 songs were written when we were 19 and 20. So it was a while ago, but yeah, we're bringing those songs back, and yeah, we met through a mutual, and just like you said, we immediately hit it off on like black metal and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah.
and then
I think we talked about Arcanum, and that's where it like really started.
yeah, Arcanum was like my first like. I mean, I had gotten into like Mayhem and like Dark Funeral and like some Enslaved and stuff, but Arcanum was like the first like truly underground black metal band that I like really got into.
Mm.
And yeah, we clicked over that and like Caladan Brood and stuff, and then it was just off to the races with our projects. So
I fucking love that. I also love the fact that you're like comfortable enough for like you think that the stuff that you wrote at 19 and 20 and stuff like that is like still good enough to use to, or like to work it around and stuff like that. I
oh
think
my
that's
god,
really,
dude!
really cool.
Let me tell you, and Kyle, I've talked Kyle and Matt's ear off about this, but phenomenal song. That one was great. I've talked their ear off about this. I didn't come into my own as a writer, like, and actually be proud of a lot of the stuff I was writing until around that time.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff from before that, I still just like cringe so hard on, you know what I mean?
I understand, yeah.
And so, I mean, some of it was great. I'm really proud of a lot of some of that early stuff, but like in terms of consistency, no, yeah, I'm really glad that we were able to salvage a lot of that material.
Yeah, for sure.
And use it now. So
we definitely refreshed it and like improved it. But
of
a
course,
lot
I'm
of those
sure,
like
yeah.
original riffs from like the first day we ever hung out are in there.
There are some janky guitar profiles on my computer.
Hell yeah, dude.
I know the one riff, Brandon.
Oh god, yeah. Hey, I rewrote that recently, so that's the riff that should not be named.
The riff that should not be named.
But no, I rewrote that one recently, so it's all good now.
So I will take a second to say that Alphablot means sacrifice to the elves. And this is a really fucking like Norse folk song, because this song is all about sacrificing a holy boar to the gods in order to ensure a bountiful harvest and a quick winter.
Love it. Yeah, man. Anything with elves is like, you have me in a fucking vice grip, because I like any fantasy thing I read or play or whatever, I'm always an elf, or I always imagine elven stuff. And Druidian Secrets is the first album that we're writing, is like about Celtic mythology and elves and fairies and shit. So love it.
And you guys kind of mentioned it, but like, so Kyle, what about when you first listened to this band, what was it about their sound specifically that kind of jumped out to you, as opposed to some of the other stuff that you may have been listening to at the time?
To me, it was just the way the song, like the riffs first and foremost. Like I'm always I'm a riff guy through and through. So
and
like
we're listening
that's
to one
always
like
the thing
right now as you're speaking.
Yep, perfect timing.
Yeah,
but that's always the thing that jumps out to me the most is the riffs. But the way that they're put together and like the atmosphere and the way that they layer the keyboards and the acoustics and everything on top, there's just a certain quality to, especially early Enslaved, that as much as I love pretty much all of the other like early Norwegian bands, there's a certain quality in Enslaved that a lot of them didn't have.
For sure.
So like I'll reach for, as much as I love Mayhem and a lot of the other bands, but I'll reach for an early Enslaved record before I pick up De Mysteriis like any day.
Sure. Oh, 100%. Brandon, what about you, man?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, we're big like riff people here in the Tómarúm camp, like and so that's like obviously a huge thing, is that they, even when they do those angular riffs, even later into their career, every song still has moments that are just riffy and like awesome.
Yeah.
And then I think for me specifically, what I really latched onto, especially because it was Herbrand Larsson's last album, In Times, which is the one that I first got into, was the clean vocals. That just sold me. I thought his voice was absolutely unbelievable, otherworldly, so smooth and just gorgeous. And then you mix that with the riffs, the layering, the prog, and then you just have, like we had talked about earlier, the varied discography. All that mixed together just really made for a band that caught my attention. I always talk about dynamism
Yes.
with stuff that we're listening to. So like heavy as fuck riffs, like intricate riffs, dynamic song structures. That's kind of a big thing that we've been really talking about a lot, and I've been really just caring more and more about as I get older. And so that's kind of what drew me to Enslaved, and also what influenced their influence on our upcoming material. We just really focused on that dynamism piece a lot.
Yeah, and like I said too, and I think this is probably subconscious because I said after, I listened to Obsidian and then came back and listened to Eld, I was like, I can see where parts of that kind of felt. I love this.
I love how this outro echoes.
Yeah, and it's like there's
so
like
good.
that. There's like that like sour note, just like da 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 da, at the thing, and it just like
so good.
goes over.
That's that angular. That's that angular shit. It's just.
I wish the vinyl ended in like a locked groove, so it just played that over and over again.
You're like, why am I going insane right now?
That's the one thing I would change about the album is in that side of the LP in a locked groove.
It's a 9.95 only because.
Another thing that has always jumped out to me about Enslaved is the tone of the harsh vocals as well. I feel like he's got a really distinct like snarl to his voice, and that's something that like I haven't necessarily tried to replicate as I've navigated doing harsh vocals, but Enslaved is definitely one of my primary influences for like my vocals as well.
It has that like part like aspect to it, where it sounds like there's just slime in the back of his throat.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's so cool because he's been so consistent with it throughout the entire career of the band. Like, he still sounds phenomenal, and that style
his technique is flawless.
Yeah, he's kept it even up until now. I mean, you mentioned Heimdall. I fucking adore that record.
Literally. So what I forgot was I was going to ask you all like what you thought of the most like recent albums, because I know that especially with the way that they change every little once and try and expand. I know that sometimes it takes people a little bit while. Some albums people don't like as much, but you obviously are a fan of Heimdall. What about you, Kyle? Last two albums, what do you think?
So I definitely. Utgard hasn't like fully clicked with me yet. I definitely like it, but I haven't just like fully immersed myself into it.
Yeah,
but
I listened to it the other day. I'm not really a big fan, I have to say.
Yeah, I think Heimdall's great though. But out of like modern Enslaved, like past 10, 15 years, Axioma, Ethica, Odini, and then Ritir are like the tops of like the modern era for me.
I agree with Ritir. Yeah, I haven't listened to the other one, but Ritir is so fucking good.
Yeah, the other one's the one that came right before Ritir.
Okay.
And it's like also like absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, Heimdall took a little bit of time for me to settle in with me because I was like, I don't know, I felt like I liked the songs better when I listened to them themselves rather than in the album. But then after I started listening to the album for a little bit, I was like, I think I kind of understand what they're doing, which is we're not really supposed to understand what they're doing.
Yeah. The new material does translate really, really well live. Me and Brandon saw them, I think, 2023, and like all the new stuff sounded fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing. I there was a point where I don't really headbang at shows anymore. Old man vibes. Entering the late 20s, we got to conserve our joints. But
yeah, exactly, dude.
I had to headbang. There was a riff. I think it was in Congelia. There was a riff that. Or not a riff. It's the same riff throughout almost the entire song. But
yeah, I was going to say I know exactly what you're talking about.
There's like a melody that kicks in with the keyboard and guitar that it's just unbelievable. And I had to headbang, and seeing them was absolutely phenomenal. And hope to see them again a bunch more times. It was my first time seeing them, so that was really, really awesome.
Fuck yeah!
I know I mentioned Herbrand's clean vocals a lot, but I guess it's Grutla who does the clean vocals before Herbrand comes in to the band, and his are absolutely phenomenal as well.
Oh yeah.
Love his tone on both the kind of more higher register vocals
Well,
and
that
even
keyboard get there.
Dude, that's like Children of Bodom shit. Like that's what Alexi was fucking like inspired by. Hell yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That the King Diamond
Fuck yeah.
stream.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
So cool, man.
The one on the entire album.
For like it's just out of nowhere, it never comes back again. There's no reason for it, but it's so good.
Yeah. And they end the song with like the left guitar going "Gutta, gutta, gutta, gutta." Like it's just so bizarre. It's so good.
Oh my god. I love this chickens.
Yeah, here I said really rich organic production comes through here, and then there's a lot of like arpeggiated like riffs, a lot of movement in the riffs that I really liked. Yeah, just more testament to how fucking beautiful it sounds.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite like melodies on the album. It's nice to have like a slower paced song, or at least a slower paced beginning after like how aggressive the past couple songs have been too. Like the pacing is really nice.
Exactly, and that gets to Brandon's point about the like the dynamism or the dynamicism or whatever the fuck, you know, like. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this project to talk about albums, since we're so ingrained into, 15-second clips or anything like that, is, these albums that have these sequencings and these rises and falls and are really just like a bigger sum of all of their parts, And this album does that to a T.
Absolutely. But it doesn't lose any of the like movement in the riffs themselves, if that makes sense.
Oh,
That's
no,
always
absolutely.
something I'm talking about is like you can do the mid-placed and slower stuff, but what are you doing to make it interesting, And I think they just knock it out of the park every time.
So here's another question. So we talked about, you finding Enslaved and what you liked about and everything like that. What bands do you think you discovered because of getting into Enslaved that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise or would not have gotten had it not been for Enslaved? Brandon, you look like you're thinking a lot, so Kyle, we can start with you.
Yeah, I have to think about that.
So I don't know if Enslaved has like directly led me to discovering other bands, but they're definitely one of those bands that just made me fall in love with black metal.
Sure, cool.
So I could list off a million bands.
Yeah.
But I guess as far as stuff more in this vein, kind of like the early like Scandinavian stuff, the Norwegian band Kvist is another one like from that era that is absolutely fucking phenomenal. Arcturus, Ulver, like those types of bands.
Ulver is another one with a very, very intimidating discography, especially because they've moved even more farther in their south than Enslaved has. I've peeked at a couple of albums here and there, especially their early ones, but it is like, oh my god, it is so much.
I'm in the same boat.
I'm only really familiar with early Ulver.
For me, when I think of bands that maybe after getting into Enslaved that I kind of got into, Kyle mentioned Arcturus. That's definitely a band that I jammed. I call it the Green Album. I don't remember the name, but
Asperaheim Symphonia.
Yeah, fantastic album.
The Green Album.
Yep, and also just like black metal in general. I mean, after I got into Enslaved, like that black metal rabbit hole just kept getting bigger. But then also I would say actually after I kind of like got back into Enslaved again, like this past couple of years, I kind of went in like the prog rock like direction again, and I kind of went to like some like early like Genesis records and like early Yes stuff. And
it's interesting that you say that, dude, because when I was listening to a record, I think it might have been Issa, I was just like, man, if you just strip away all of the, Viking and the folk and the Norwegian and stuff like that, like there are parts of that album that sound like it could be a Yes record and stuff like that. We listened to Close to the Edge with another guest a couple of episodes ago, and I hadn't listened to no Yes beforehand, but now I'm a little bit learned. And so it's interesting that you say that because I was definitely thinking that there is some like 70s prog in like the 2000s era Enslaved.
Yeah, and after I really got into Issa, I got into Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. I think it was from 74, or maybe it was in the 70s for sure. But yeah, just that keyboard heavy stuff really got me into like anything with like really keyboard heavy stuff. It just strengthened my love for both black metal and prog. So yeah.
That's fucking cool. Look at all of our crazy journeys with Enslaved. I really didn't. So, like, other than Vertebrae and Havenless and a couple of other songs here and there, I really didn't start winding into this band until Utgard came out. And then and now the last 5 years since then have been able to, just like with time, go back and listen to some of them more than others and stuff like that. But yeah, a band I don't think I'll ever be like, oh my God, like I am a #1 fan of Enslaved and everything like that. But so much fun to listen to, especially if you anybody in here just likes their interesting journeys as far as music goes, or your prog, or just interesting song structures. Definitely a band for you to check out, at least to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, they're just like the ideal band.
Yeah. Did you guys ever listen to Bal-Sagoth?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we love that band.
But yeah, I think that was my first like weird ass fuck black
these layers
band.
Right here, sorry to interrupt you, but layers right here are really reminiscent of like what they were doing on Issa.
I could hear that actually. Yeah,
love it. Super inspiring. Love it. Yeah, which what you were saying, yeah, we love Bal-Sagoth. I haven't done all their stuff. I've done like Dark Moon Broods over Lemuria and Iceveiled Throne of Ultima Thule. Yeah, I love that band. They're great.
Yeah, I love a lot of that like super wacky symphonic black metal.
Before I really like poked at any black metal, I was into stuff like Iced Earth and Blind Guardian and Primal Fear and Halloween and all that like other fucking nerd shit, right? And so for me, it was like, oh, it's kind of like the first example I found of like kind of bridging power metal and black metal and stuff like that.
I can definitely see that. I actually only recently got into Blind Guardian, and I actually really love what I've heard.
I love Blind Guardian, dude. They're so fucking good.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for like power metal, and like I got really into OG like heavy metal and stuff over the past couple of years. So no, yeah, I can definitely see that. I actually love the epic like power and like black metal kind of mix. Not a lot of bands do it, but
like Stormkeep is another one that kind of does that a little bit. Maybe not in exactly the same way, but they do have those like epic power metal like vocal lines in between some of their songs after they've done stuff like this, like we're listening to right now.
And like this is gonna sound so hilarious, like so ridiculous and hilarious, but Stormkeep is almost like power into black metal.
Yeah, I agree.
Instead of like blackened power metal, it's like black metal with like power metal influences. It's like power and black metal. Yeah. So Isaac, if you're listening, maybe you guys can update your metalin page to say power into black metal.
And that's how they got kicked off Metallum, because they didn't like that. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, man, but if you need any Blind Guardian recs, let me know, because they're fucking great. I mean, honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with any of their albums. They're kind of like Enslaved, but there certainly are the ones that are better than others, I think.
Yeah, I've so far I've only done like a bit of the really famous one with like the people around the campfire from
Somewhere Far Beyond. Yeah, that's my favorite one. That was my intro to them too.
Yeah, and I really love like what I've heard from that so far. So definitely gonna like get into that more. I mean, I love prog. I love like early Dream Theater and like Symphony X and stuff. So anything that's like proggy power metal, I love that stuff.
If you haven't listened to it, and this goes for anybody listening, Blind Guardian's most recent album is also really fucking good. It's kind of a nice amalgamation of their like 90s speed metal records and a little bit more of the kind of like grandiose songwriting that they've put in their later albums, but they're not as like bloated as some of their like 2010s albums can be, which is still really good, but they have a lot of like orchestrations and fucking orchestras and synths and this, and then they get back to just like writing riffs and doing like melodious solos and stuff like that. It's really good.
Is this the synth that you were talking about?
Yes it is. Yeah, like, it's like that. It's like we're going through the wormhole right now.
Oh, it's so cool.
Fuck yeah. It is, man. This is 97 too. Like, that's the thing that gets me when I listen to this record again. It's like this shit was written in 1997.
I love how sudden a lot of the tempo changes are on this album too. How it's just like 1 second you're just like kind of coasting, and then it immediately just gets like twice as fast.
Yeah, but so it doesn't feel jarring though, is the thing.
Which not at all. Like it works.
Yeah,
that's really hard to pull off too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here it is, the title track. We did it, gentlemen. We almost did it. We're almost there.
My notes for this, it says "see above." So So literally everything that I talked about in every other song, it's the same thing here. It's just fantastic.
Just like all of them, like in
yeah.
one song. Here you go.
Yeah.
Kyle, I did want to ask you something as far with the new record and stuff like that, because we mentioned as far as with Ash, I know a lot of that stuff had been, written years in advance or been worked on, and like, there was a lot of time in that record. Where this one, obviously, you have a lot more people, it's collaborative, not as much time. How did you find, that process of, well, you had something that we were like thinking about was in your brain for a long time, and now this one maybe not as much time to like to go over it. Like, how did you find that personally as far as like a creative?
So it was really, honestly, it was really easy. Like, I'm not gonna say that writing the record was easy,
Sure,
but
yeah.
just like getting into our creative flow as a cohesive unit, it
Cool.
was just kind of like it just kind of happened instantly. Like the moment that we started writing collaboratively, it just like kept going. So we probably like where Ash took, 4 or 5 years to put together, it probably took us like what, Brandon, maybe like 2 years to write and record the whole thing. It went really quickly, but we probably put the same amount of time into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Kyle and I started writing the record in 2020, but then like in 2021 in 2021 we got all the guys in for the full lineup, and then we really started writing it. And yeah, I would say we finished writing in 2023. So yeah, it was about 2.5 years. So it was about half the amount of time. Is that correct, Kyle? You think 2.5, like half the amount of time?
Yeah. We still had like a lot of other stuff going on. Like me and Brandon had Lunar Chamber. We all have jobs and like other obligations outside of the band and everything.
Yeah.
But we still like within that like 2.5 year period, we spent a fuck ton of time on it. Like we were like constantly meeting up and writing. We all have the same amount of obligations still as we did when like Ash was coming together. But like from like all the touring that we've done and all the time that we've spent together, I feel like we've got a really solid like creative process now that it's not like, I wouldn't say it's like insanely difficult for us to like write a Tómarúm song now, because we just have our process ironed out.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that it was basically, the chemistry is kind of instantaneous, because obviously that makes things so much easier than having to fucking like battle with people and everything like that. So I'm glad to hear that, because obviously I know with some creatives, after they work on one thing, it's like, I spent so much time working on something and now it's done, it's out the door. Fuck, I've got to do something else now, So I'm glad it wasn't like that.
Yeah, when we finish one thing, it's on to the next. We're just like, damn, I can't wait to start working on the next thing.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I love that.
We're kind of restless in that way.
No, that's good. Don't
like
dwell, just fucking go.
Yeah, like we mentioned before, we're already working on the third one, so it doesn't stop over here. I mean, it kind of stops sometimes, but our minds are always swimming with albums, who we want to tour with, and what we want to do for certain tours, and like all that kind of stuff. I don't know, we're just big dreamers, so we just kind of go for it,
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned Lunar Chamber, dude. With the amount of music that I listen to on a regular basis, I forgot about that thing. But like as soon as you said it, it was just like all of this stuff started swirling back again. That was a fun 20 minutes, dude. I love that record, or the EP, whatever the release, whatever it was. A lot of fun for a lot of the same reasons to Tómarúm, with just like exploring a lot of different sounds and doing a lot of shit that most like a lot of other people are doing. So listener, if you're into stuff like that new Blood Incantation record, go listen to some progressive death metal by Lunar Chamber, my friends.
I was just at Brandon's house last night tracking guitars for the Lunar Chamber album. So new stuff is on the way for that too.
If you a lot of people have been asking about it. I guess by the time this comes out, maybe it'll be done being recorded, but no, we're recording the first record, and we're just going even crazier on it. So
it's a really weird album.
I love to hear that. Fuck it, man. There was a band as we're getting to the end of this one. Ulthar put out 2 records the other year that were just like, what the fuck are they even doing on this thing? So like, I'm for it, because both of those records are really good.
Yeah, it's a great band.
The
first Tómarúm show ever was opening for Ulthar in Atlanta. Like,
yeah, dude, look at that.
Fucking 6 years ago at this point.
frost started for me after the album ended, and I was like,
That's
"Fuck yeah!"
yeah. So did I. I mean, I got Loki on here. I was like, let's go, double up.
Yeah, such a
No.
good intro. But no, yeah, we love Ulthar, and yeah. What was I gonna say? I can't remember. But yeah, new Lunar Chamber is also on the horizon.
Look at that
So
breaking news all over the place. Another Tómarúm album is coming at some point down the line. Look at that. New Lunar Chamber. I love it. Good stuff, guys. I'm glad that you guys can like keep busy and inspired is the big thing too, because I know like getting out riffs and recording them and just like putting creative art out into the world can be pretty hard, but you guys have found your lane and your niche and everything like that, and it's just cool to fucking see you guys putting all of this stuff out because as a music listener, I get to reap the benefits and the rewards of it.
hell yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no problem. So guys, we did it. Eld by Enslaved, a really good album. I've been listening to it a lot over the last couple of weeks. What are your final thoughts on this record, my friends? Brandon, we can start with you.
Sure, yeah. I mean, again, we touched on it with some of the songs. It started that kind of I would say obviously they'd always kind of been doing it, but it started that journey of entering that late 90s, early 2000s kind of more proggy era for them. And then on the one after this on Bloodhammon, they just, they got like a full lineup and then kept going with that sound. Really iconic record, mystical, huge, epic, heavy. And yeah, super inspiring. Like Kyle said, and like I, shamelessly said earlier, Dream Tour is to play with Enslaved. So yeah, we just love the band, and it's a great album, one of their greats.
Fuck yeah! What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, one of my favorite albums ever. Pretty much the same stuff that Brandon said, just like huge and epic and mystical. Like the atmosphere is perfect, the riffs are perfect, the musicianship is phenomenal on all fronts. To me, it's just like it's one of those albums that it's one of the few albums that checks every single box for me.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for bringing this on. I think this is a perfect album for Spinning the Wax, and I was really glad to experience it with you guys and like see your passion and love for this band.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'd love to do it again.
I will. Well, we've got like 7 more bands that are releasing stuff, so I guess we'll have to have like one of those bands.
We've got a million more albums that we could talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, thanks so much for having us. This was a blast. It was so fun to chat about this band and just metal in general. Like Kyle said, we have so many more projects doing stuff, and so many more albums that we could talk about. So maybe for the new Lunar Chamber, we could also come on and chat about some underground stuff.
Yeah, dude, and that was great because I almost told you, Kyle, when you were talking about it, as far as like I would love to have some like underground Lithuanian fucking black metal that has like 14 listeners on Spotify or something like that. And now that we've got the big shit out of the way, now we could do it. I would love to do that in the future, guys. So thank you so much for spending your time with me and listening to music. And congratulations on the second album. I know I've only had it for a couple of weeks, but and I know it comes out a couple weeks or a couple months from now, but going to be another one that I settle in with for a while. And given the music on it, there's going to be many things that I think I find with it over the next like several months and even years going forward. So I hope it brings you a lot of success. You can get out and tour, play with Enslaved on this album, and yeah, all of that other stuff. So have fun on the road when you inevitably go out. And again, congrats on the new record, and good luck going forward, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, John. Always awesome chatting with you, man.
You heard it here first, everyone. Tómarúm may have just released Beyond Obsidian Euphoria, but the third album is already on the horizon. Probably not for a little bit, as you know, they still got a full touring cycle to go through. They've got, an album to promote, to get out, hopefully to Europe and everywhere else, but you know that it's going to be coming eventually. And not only that, but we'll see Kyle and Brandon again in short order whenever another one of their 20 projects releases a new record. Definitely looking forward to that new Lunar Chamber album. Massive thanks to both Kyle and Brandon for sharing their time and experience with Enslaved with me, with you, and themselves, I suppose. As we mentioned so many times on this episode, despite Enslaved's discography being like really huge and varied and different and, you don't have no idea where to start, I hope that they and I have convinced you to just dive in somewhere, really anywhere. Just give it a go for yourself and start walking that crazy Heimdall rainbow bridge to whatever lands and realms Enslaved takes you. But while you're doing that, do not wait to go check out Tómarúm's brand new album, Beyond Obsidian Euphoria. Just as soon as you're listening to this episode, we'll be done in like a minute or so. You have time. Let's go. It is available everywhere now via Prosthetic Records, and it is such an immersive and rewarding listening experience. You can tell that they really have been collaborating and building their sound off of what they introduced on Ash in the Realm of Stone Icons. Check them out on the road whenever they come close to you, and be on the lookout for everything else these Atlanta dudes have to offer. Well, I thank you very much, everyone. That's all that I've got for today. Thank you again for all of your support and for listening with us. If you enjoyed this, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with one or two of your most heavy metal friends. You can support the show directly, and I thank you very much by going to patreon.com/spinningthewax. Membership perks include early access to these episodes, new music updates every week where I tell you the best albums and songs that have come out in the past little bit, access to all the playlists I meticulously curate, exclusive videos, and so much more. You can also head over to buy me a coffee or a tea or a Red Bull. I don't think I specifically have to stick to a coffee, but any support is appreciated and loved. Next episode, we have another blackened Atlanta force to grace these hallowed halls when Cloak guitarist and vocalist Scott Taysom stops by to spin some gothic goodness in Solitude. Those of you that love your tribulation, your sentenced, your unto others, your merciful fucking fate, better pay attention. That's coming out in 2 weeks, my friends. We will be here, but until then, stay safe and stay sane, stay heavy, stay buffed. See you on the other side, friends.